When I found out my son was an addict, I was very angry. I was very, very angry. And again, I'm a very procedural type person because of my background. And I was under the assumption, just quit doing it and you'll be fine. Quit taking drugs, quit drinking. And it'll all stop, it'll go away. And I just remember going through the process of the parent weekends and listening to all the seminars and coming back and then participating in the individual counseling and trying as hard as I could to be supportive. And then he would get out into a sober living home and relapse. And I'm like, why didn't you listen to what they were saying? And there was immense amount of anger towards my son, and why can't you just procedurally stop? Just stop drinking. Stop taking drugs, and you'll be fine. In my situation, it's with our situation, what I think my son wanted to hear from me. He kept telling me honesty. He wanted me to be honest. And I kept hearing that, and I kept coming home to my wife and saying, what am I not being honest about? I just can't think of anything that I've laid it all out on the table. I know that's what he wants from me. I know he wants my love, and I've heard that in some of the treatment places. You know, Dad, I just want to know you love me. And I just couldn't imagine, because son, I always loved you. To this day, I love you. So I think the honesty was the big lacking factor, and he felt like I was being dishonest with him. So I had to listen to what he was saying. I had to listen. I had to validate what I just couldn't understand. He wanted me to be honest, and I'm like, well, I am being honest with you. I've always been honest with you. I don't understand what you're saying. I just want you to be honest with me. And that was hard to validate something that I didn't know what he was talking about. And it wasn't until the counselors were able to be involved, which is why it was so important to be at a facility, that they were able to figure out, okay, this is what's going on. We think this is what's happening. And then I'm like, okay, well, I can validate things. I need to validate his feelings on how he feels. Because if he doesn't feel validated, he's gonna like, whatever, dude. Like, you're not getting any better. Why should I get better? You know, I think as parents, we have to be good examples for our children. We have to be good examples. If we're not good examples for our kids, why would their son or daughter want to do anything good? Then why would they even say, why you're not doing it? Why should I do it? I think it's very important to be honest with your kids, as honest as you can. Not as you have to be 100% honest. Without honesty, you cannot have a connection. So it's very, very important. Even if you have to bare your soul, admit that you're wrong. Validate your son's feelings. I'm sorry that happened. I know how you feel. I was wrong. I wish I could take it back. That's what they need. They need to hear that from you. They hear that from you. That opens up a connection. The connection is the most powerful thing to fight addiction. It is the most important thing. Without the connection, it's going to be extremely hard. So be honest, be open, be raw, validate what they're going through. How I got past the anger, how I got past the frustration, was a realization that I didn't have control. And it wasn't up to me to make him better. That's hard. That's hard, realizing that you don't have any effect in your son's life. That's when you got to turn to another source. And you got to turn to God. You have to turn to love and hope. That's the thing that I can tell any parent is going to save their lives. Because if you don't have hope, you don't have love, and you're looking for connection, that's what you desire. You want that connection with your son. It's the only way you're going to get it. But it's not up to you. It's up to God, and you got to let go. You've got to go get yourself help. And that's the one thing that I did not realize how important it was. You have to go and take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be any good for your son. Find a connection with God. Find a connection. What I did personally was I researched. I researched as much as I could. I read books, Nikki Sixx, The Realm of the Hungry Ghost, Boundaries No More, Divorce Poison. I got as much information as I could. So I reached out to my resources. I asked people, what books do you read? The second thing I did, I went to church. I prayed. The third thing is I listened to Christian music, because that, in my downtime, gave me an spiritual lift that I needed, because the worst enemy is downtime and thinking about guilt, shame. So those are the things that I had to do. In addition to researching, going to church, praying, listening to spiritual music, was reaching out to some friends that their son was in the same boat. And having my community that I could deal with, that I could talk to, that would understand me. There's a lot of shame in this world about a loved one having an addiction. People look differently at that. So it's not a thing that you want to, I don't have a problem with telling people my story. I don't, but I can see how you just don't want to go to work and just start broadcasting this stuff. So you have to find a support group for yourself and for your family. My son went to 4 treatment facilities and 4 sober living facilities before the final one. And we found that the final one was the one that clicked for him. The things that made it click was, in my opinion, were he was able to feel like him. He was able to express himself the way he wanted to express himself. He had the openness, and he felt safe enough in that facility to open up that I had never seen prior. All the previous facilities, it was just it wasn't the same. This facility, the facility I think that did the trick, they taught the thing. It wasn't the words. It wasn't the. It was the words. It was the program. It was the tireless counselors meeting with us, talking with us on the phone. That was all there. But was at this facility was love and connection. And that's what I felt from them. And I think that was the reason why my son is still alive today. I will say that. That's the only reason why he's alive today. So I want to read to you a letter that I sent to the facility, the rehab center that saved my son's life. One Thursday morning in Pittsburgh, I was preparing for a flight down to Fort Lauderdale. As a pilot, my pre-flight duties included preparing the cockpit, ensuring the flight attendants have everything they need, and making sure 100 plus passengers were boarded and they had everything they needed. So everything was routine until the last 15 minutes before departure. In the last 15 minutes, 2.5 plus years flashed before my eyes, in my mind. During the pre-flight, I got a call saying to save 2 seats up front for a father and his daughter. The daughter was going to rehab in Fort Lauderdale, and her father decided to accompany her at the last minute. So he bought kind of an emergency ticket. The police were going to escort the family down to the airplane through security and accompany him to the gate. The daughter had just been discharged from the hospital. Apparently, she overdosed the night before. Both boarded just in time, and as her father walked beside her, she was in a wheelchair. Up the top of the jetway, I saw him come down, and the police officer was behind him. It appeared that the dad was barely holding it together. As I looked at him walking down, the daughter was in a chair. She was just picking out her arm. She was picking out her arm. She was awake, and she looked like she has had a rough night. I looked at the dad, and I saw it in his eyes. I knew what he was thinking. And I saw that fear. And it was just nuts. I just saw the fear. So I walked up to him, I put my hand on his shoulder, and I said, I know what you're going through. It's going to be all right. My son is going through the same thing. And they said, where are you taking her? I said, I'm going to Fort Lauderdale. I've been up all night calling for places. I didn't know where to go, or who to take her to, and this place took her. And I said, when you get there, and everything's settled, and some time, and you feel good about it, call me. I gave him my number, and they boarded the aircraft. So what I learned in that 2-minute encounter, 3-minute encounter with his dad and his daughter, 2.5 years flashed through my head because I was there with him. I was there. And what I learned about fear was that there's people out there that are fearless. The treatment facilities are fearless. As a parent, you can't give up hope. You've got to go out and find the resources so you can combat that fear. So the things that I were trying to teach my son as far as character about being fearless, I just saw such a picture at that moment of me helping a dad and saying, it's going to be all right. I know how you feel. I can't change your outcome, but I know how you feel, and that was a connection. Recently, I've been sending letters to my son to reconnect with him. The most recent topic was regarding values on the value about fearlessness and how it's impacted my life. Ironically, because of my fear of saying the wrong thing to trigger him, it was hard to translate my thoughts onto paper, or at least until those last 15 minutes. But what I finally realized, the facility where my son was at is the epitome of fearless. I want you to know that the 2.5 years that you made our family feel like we were not alone. You showed us fearless compassion in the face of uncertainty. You've shown us fearless patience during immense adversity. You've shown us fearless knowledge during very bleak times. And finally, stood with us fearlessly to confront real issues and help us take a chance to take chances again. I want to thank you for that.